and welcome to Soul Symbols. My name is Shelley, and my channel is dedicated to the reading of tarot and oracle cards for psychological well-being. What I like to do is I am a writer, an astrologer, and a card reader, and over the years I've just learned so much about card reading for personal growth. I feel like when you pull cards, it gives you archetypes in the form of symbols, and by reading these archetypes you can speak to your unconscious and learn a lot about what is going on in your life or how you're feeling. So I started a channel dedicated to that cause to help others learn about symbols, and also to use cards as a viable tool to help solve problems and just get kind of an overall pulse on your own, your own well-being. I host videos twice a week, on Tuesdays and on Saturdays. On Tuesdays I do what I call the How to Tarot, and what I do is I go through all of the 78 cards of the tarot, starting with the Major Arcana. We discuss the symbols in the card, and then after we have gone over, the symbols, so you have a, just to learn and get a better understanding, if you decide to ever pull cards for yourself or even for dream interpretation or other means, by knowing the symbols and knowing the meanings, it helps in the overall experience. What I do is on every Tuesday I like to select 3 tarot decks. And from the 3 tarot decks, I will pull the card in question, the one that we're analyzing, the one that we're doing the How to Tarot for. I will pull out the best image using the tarot decks that I have. And then after we've discussed the symbols or gone over the symbols, I will go ahead and do a tarot reading based on that tarot card. So after we've learned about the card, we'll go ahead and do a reading to see how that card manifests in your life. This week we are doing a How to Tarot on the High Priestess, and I have 3 different tarot decks from which we are going to analyze the symbolism and then do a card reading that is personalized for you. The first deck is the traditional Rider-Waite Smith. The second deck is the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson. I hope I'm saying the name right. And the last one is the Ink and Intuition Tarot. And I will definitely list the names of all of the tarot and also the authors of the decks in the description box below. After we do a reading using that tarot deck, I will clarify using 2 oracle cards. The first oracle card is the Soul's Journey Lesson Cards by James Van Praagh. And then the other one is the Wisdom of the Oracle Cards by Colette Baron-Reid. And again, I will list all of the details for all the cards in the description box below. So let's go ahead and get started. So the High Priestess is actually it's still the beginning of the Major Arcana. As we described with the Fool, the Major Arcana originally, all of tarot was originally meant to be a storytelling game. And what it is the tarot was broken down into Major Arcana and Minor Arcana. And the Major Arcana is the heavy elements of somebody's life. They are the archetypes that mean the deep transitions or the deep events in a person's journey. And we started the How to Tarot with the Fool, which is number 0, and then last week we did the Magician, which is number 1, and today we get to do the High Priestess. And the High Priestess is a very mysterious and mystical card. And to begin, this is the Rider-Waite Smith interpretation of the High Priestess is probably the most common. I always encourage everyone that if you ever want to either screenshot the image or pause the video, or if you want to, you can search the internet for decks that appeal to you. But the image of the High Priestess is very mystical. if you look at her, the way that we kind of started the journey was with the Fool. The Fool fell to earth and took on a corporal form. Then in the Magician, you can see that the Fool grew up a little bit and learned to manifest using the elements around him. Once we get to number 2, or, the High Priestess follows the Magician, and what you see here is this is kind of the first woman archetype that you see. You can tell that she's looking straight ahead. She does take on a little bit of an androgynous kind of look. A lot of times you don't know if it's male or female because of the way that, the hair is kind of short and the way that it looks. But she definitely looks like a kind of mystical figure. There are 2 pillars in the picture. The pillar on the left is dark, and the B stands for Boaz. It's B-O-A-Z, and the J to the right is light, and it stands for Jachin, if I'm saying this right, J-A-C-H-I-N. And what those are is, it actually is representative of the pillars in the Testament of Solomon, that is in the Kabbalic or the Judaism stories of Solomon's temple. And actually, when you look in the High Priestess' lap, you'll see that she has a scroll that says the Torah. And what Boaz and Jachin stands for is, Boaz represents, it's almost like yin and yang. It's the dark and the light. And Boaz represents earth and water, while Jachin represents fire and air, which are the 2 opposing elements, but they are also the elements that work in conjunction to each other and make up the 4 elements of the Minor Arcana, as well as the 4 elements of life. So you can see that this is a very powerful influence. When you look at her environment, with the Magician, you saw him in civilization and you saw him out in nature. Now, when we get to the High Priestess, you see that she is almost in what looks like a temple, right? And what it always makes me think of is, when you think about it, the temple is really kind of a, it almost reminds me of not only Greek mythology, but Greek psychology. It really makes me think of Socrates and Plato. And this would have been at the time, both in Celtic and in Greek times, when the psychology or the philosophy of life is really analyzed. So when you think about it, it's like, okay, the Magician has, is the Fool grown up and going out into the world, and then he knows that he can manifest things using the elements, but does he ever question the result of that manifestation? Does he ever question why? Almost like Socrates and Plato, you kind of ask the question, what is the meaning of life? Why am I here? If I'm able to manifest these things, what is the purpose, or what is the overall cause? When you look at the High Priestess, she really manifests that way in the fact that she asks the question, I am able to manifest, but should I? So in the deck, she represents the unconscious. She represents the ethics of things. In the background, you'll see that between the two pillars, there is a drape that seems to be covering up something in the background. It's a veil, and it's the veil that is the great mystery of life, and she is the guardian of that. And on the veil, in the traditional Rider-Waite myth, you see pomegranate seeds. And in Greek mythology, Persephone, daughter of the underworld, she was kidnapped by Hades. And what it was is, while she was in the underworld, she was hungry, and she ended up eating 6 of the pomegranate seeds, which in turn kept her in, because she had consumed food of the underworld, it forced her to be in the underworld 6 months of the year, and then in the real world, upper realm, 6 months of the year, and that's what gives you the seasons. And when you think about it, you've got, when you think about water and earth, and then fire and air, and the seasons, and the mysteries of life, why are things, why do things manifest the way they do? She really is the keeper of all of that. Now you see that her headdress is very much similar to the Egyptian god of child and who protects women in childbirth. And when you look at her feet, her cloak looks like flowing water, and she is stepping on a crescent moon. And also her headdress looks like the seasons of the moons, waxing, full, and waning. So definitely she is seen as a very mysterious figure. She guards the mysteries of life, and her overall essence is it's kind of the two, it's of the two worlds. It's the evolution of the magician to a higher consciousness. So when you see her in a reading, when you see the High Priestess come out in a reading, it's a very powerful card. And some of the definitions, or some of the things that you think of when you see her, is just like we said with the magician who would manifest something. She asks, should you? She says, what action should you take? So the High Priestess does rule non-action. She rules unconscious awareness. She is about plumbing the depths of a situation and finding the deeper meaning. And that is one beautiful thing. Anytime I pull this card or get this, when I'm really having a deep card reading for myself, it reaffirms to me that I'm either coming to the right answers, or, depending on where you see her, it could also mean that there's more that you're not seeing. There's something secret and hidden. So she is about seeking guidance from within, and she is also about using your intuition. And the fact that the two pillars of understanding or consciousness represent the elements, she is about opening yourself up to the unknown, and she is also about seeing your hidden talents. So she is about understanding what you are capable of. Now, what I always think is kind of fun about it is she, in addition to being, matters that are kind of not revealed yet, she definitely she kind of looks like a Vestal Virgin, right? She looks like one of those keepers of the flame. She kind of looks like someone who serves her religion in a very chaste and honest way. And what I always think is beautiful about this, actually on Saturday in the weekly energy, someone got the High Priestess, and it was along with the sign of the planet of Pluto, and that group also got a Lenormand card that said magnetism. And it's interesting, the High Priestess she has a gravity about her, clearly. And what I think is so attractive, and what it kind of means is she's a mystery. And what's also, beautiful about her card is that she plumbs the depths of her own understanding. So she's self-sufficient in the fact that, just like the magician, she stands on her own. And actually, when you think about it, the Fool is standing, the magician is standing. She is the first one who is sitting on her throne. And it really is like there's a sense of non-action, there's a sense of things coming to her, but there is also a sense of judgment in a very spiritual way. And what this card usually comes across as is it usually rules it rules women, but usually when it comes out in a reading, I always kind of giggle because I always say, if a guy is attracted to a woman, and she's a complete mystery, a lot of, it's funny, a lot of there's a great representative on YouTube who talks about the ungettable girl. The High Priestess is kind of the ungettable girl, and what it is that when you look at her, she's so composed, and you can tell that she's wise, and she is just so alluring in the fact that it makes you look at her and think, gosh, what's going on in that mind of hers? She's clearly not on this planet, right? She is not here with us. She may be looking right into your eyes, but there's something really deep about this person, about this woman. And so, you know, it usually means that that allure, that mystery, is really attractive. And, you know, again, so if you're a man who's looking at a woman that you really are really drawn to, she usually manifests as the High Priestess. Anything that you don't know a lot about, but you want to know more. The High Priestess can be like, and despite how, now, you know, being with her robes, she almost looks kind of nun-like. And so, and the fact that she looks so chaste and kind of looks so, you know, unaffected by human desire, that can be interpreted as either unconditional love or love without sex. It can be someone that you put on a pedestal, that you see as this alluring woman, but you've never really had any contact with. The other thing is, she doesn't necessarily have to be virginal. I do see the High Priestess come up in readings where sometimes if you're a single mom, and you've really just evolved to a point where you are not affected by, you know, the kind of base desires of sexual relationships, you can sometimes, you know, manifest as the High Priestess. I always think of it as, the other thing is, it's that confidence. Have you ever seen somebody who just doesn't, who seems to have a higher understanding of either spiritual things? They just know so much that they kind of go through the world with an air of just peace. And I think other people want that. They're like, oh, what is she doing that makes her so peaceful, that makes her so steady? She just looks like she's on the psychological, emotional level, right? And I'll tell you, there's nothing that attracts, if you are a woman, there's nothing that, I mean, the moment that you come across as the High Priestess, it's almost like living your best life. It's like saying, you know, I'm doing what I love. I understand myself well. I understand my spirituality. I have all these wonderful, I get it. I get it. I'm ethical. I understand. And I'll tell you, nothing makes the men line up quicker. It's like, hey, baby, can I get them digits? Because the moment you don't need anybody, the moment you're self-sufficient, what's that old adage? The moment you're not looking, that's kind of the High Priestess. That's how she manifests. That's how she rolls. And so again, you know, if you're in her vibe, and you know you're sitting on your throne, and you've got your two pillars, and you know you understand your spiritual where you are, you know, that's how she manifests. Now, I went ahead and I went with my 3 favorite High Priestess. Of course, this is the Rider-Waite Smith, and that's pile number 1. And with that, you got the Sunstone, which is kind of a brownish stone. The second deck that you get to pick your piles from is the Linestrider Tarot. This is one of my favorites, and this is the High Priestess. It's very much a very ink and watercolor kind of deck. And with it, you have the clear quartz, and I absolutely love this stone. I don't know if you can see it. It's clear quartz, but then it's like the edge of it looks like it has a line of purple and then blue. It looks like it's just been dipped in watercolor. So that's pile number 2. The third pile is the Inked Intuition Tarot, which is all tattoos. It is all tattoos. And I've often joked, I love this High Priestess. I do not have any ink personally on my body, but if I did have to get a tattoo, I might get this. But I just kind of have the rule, it's a little bit big, and I kind of have the rule that if I'm gonna put any identifying marks on my body, I would need to put it in a place that would fold over and make a happy face in my in my later years. But that's just me. But as we go through, now this deck, just to be warned, is what we call more of a pip deck. And pip just means that with Rider-Waite Smith, all of the minor arcana actually has pictures, like it has story pictures to it. Pip decks are where there are the major arcana are the regular cards, but the pip is where like the cups just show as cups. There's not really a picture that gives you a story. So just be, you know, if that's important to you, be aware that the Inked Intuition, all of the minor arcana are pip images. And the stone that goes with the Inked Intuition this is called a cherry quartz. It's like a cherry volcano quartz, and it's a very bright red. I really like that. It goes well with the images. Now, one other caveat, if you do pick the middle deck, the Linestrider, there is what I call naked bits. There are a few pictures where there's nudity, and with that, I am going to have to, because it's a PG channel, and I'm not trying to get any strikes with YouTube, because they do monitor for language and nudity. And this video is not 18 or above. So if we do end up pulling cards that have any nudie bits, sorry, you're going to have to get a happy emoji to cover up the bits. And, you know, sorry to deny you a cheap thrill. Oh, in addition, when I clarify your piles, I am going to be using story dice. This is called Rory's story dice, and I make these bags. But again, we'll go ahead and we'll read your High Priestess reading, and we'll clarify. And I'll go ahead and pause the video and let you look at the decks and see which one you want to go with. See you in a minute. Okay, thank you so much. So we're going to go ahead and get started with your reading. We're going to start first with the Rider-Waite Smith. This is the traditional tarot. This is the go-to tarot. And so we're going to go ahead and see how do you, High Priestess, how does that beautiful, mysterious, androgynous woman manifest in your life? Okay, got 3 cards right off the bat. Excellent. And how does pile 1, how do they High Priestess? How does pile 1, how do they High Priestess? Ooh, okay, you saw that. Got my purple quartz there. You heard the story, that's one of the first stones. The Wisdom of the Oracle I actually put a Labradorite with. It's hard to tell, but it's got a beautiful sheen to it. And how does pile 1, how does the High Priestess manifest in pile 1's life, either currently or overall? How do they manifest? Okay, very interesting. So pile 1, how does the High Priestess manifest in your life? Let's go ahead and flip this over. Wow, oh, that's beautiful, guys. Okay, sorry, get this explaining. The High Priestess really manifests in your life as, I really see, she manifests as a peacekeeper. Here we have the Temperance card, which is the angel that is pouring the 2 cups. And in the 2 cups, the traditional meaning of the 2 cups is there's 1 cup there is fire and 1 cup there is water. And if you recall the Boaz and the Jachin, you know, the Boaz side, almost like yin and yang. This is the receptive yin energy, and this is the active yang, and this represents water and earth. This represents earth and air. So the fact that you have fire and water melding, so you manifest, you mix opposing energies, and then so the way that manifests in your life is that you use your intuition. You use your understanding of what is right and what is ethical and what is hidden. And I think the middle card is the 8 of Pentacles. And what that is that's honing a skill. That's honing a physical skill, a real world trait. And then the 3rd card is the 5 of Wands, which is, this also came up in the weekly energies, so if you guys see what I'm talking about, it's 5 people who, if you notice, they all look equal. They're all of equal height, all of their sticks are the same size, and they just kind of look like this tangle of bodies, right? And what it is the 5 of Wands means healthy competition. It kind of means all these people are equal, they're all going for the same thing, and who's gonna win? I don't know. Could be them, could be the guy on the right, could be the guy in the back, but it usually means conflict. But not in so much in a knock you down and beat you up kind of way. It can mean that, but it basically just means that I kind of think of it as, just drama. Everyone's going for the same thing, and everybody has an equal chance of getting that thing, and it just becomes drama-rama. And what I see here is the fact that this is an angel that's calibrating. She's making equal 2 opposing forces, and she's blending them together to make one peaceful outcome. And then she is skilled at it. This is almost like a honed skill. It's something that she had learned to do over time. And the fact that you have kind of conflict, and you have it looks like and the way that also that you're looking at this card at a distance, doesn't it? The vantage point, the perspective looks like it doesn't look like you're one of the people in the conflict. It looks like you're watching it from a little bit of a distance. You're close enough to see it, but it's almost like you're observing it. Now your oracle card is mending. And you see there's 2 fairies there kind of sewing up something that kind of looks like it might have fallen down. And when you look at the sky in the back, there's blue and there's pink, which is masculine and feminine, which is yin and yang. And it's not an angry sky. It's a very soft sky. So it does look like whatever storm clouds or whatever, there's no clouded thought. It is just in a peaceful setting. You are sewing, you're mending. And then your soul's journey card says friendship. And it says, I understand that a friend is in my life for a reason. So here, I really see that the High Priestess, and let me go ahead and get your dice too. I'm sorry, don't mean to forget your dice. I've gotten this before. Oh, it's funny how this comes up. But you got the clothesline. And what I love is you see the sun kind of coming down on the shirt, and you kind of look at this and it looks like a clothesline as well. I always read that dice as kind of airing out the dirty laundry. That's become my meaning for that dice. But I think what you do is you use the hidden understanding of things. I think what you do is you are the peacekeeper, and you do it very silently. I think you are the person in the background who kind of, with all of your friends, when people start getting into it with each other, and you just kind of sit back and okay, it almost looks like she's sitting on her throne peacefully, just looking at all these people, hit each other over the head with sticks, right? And it's kind of like, gosh, this is such a waste of energy, right? Why are you over there? But what she does is she looks at, I think you use your intuition. I think you use your understanding of what's hidden and what's right to kind of get to the core of problems with other people, with friends. And I think you help mend it. I think you are the peacekeeper. You use your higher understanding of the High Priestess to help other people solve their petty problems. And I don't mean petty in like a belittling way, but seriously, just, he took my backpack, oh God, duh. She's kind of like, the High Priestess is like, okay, is this gonna matter in 5 years? Is this gonna matter in 5 minutes? And she does that in such, I think she has such an ancient wisdom about the nature of human beings that she does it so silently. And I think that's how it manifests in your life. I think you really are. You are that mysterious figure that just goes through and says, okay, what's the purpose of this? Are you learning a lesson from it? It's funny, my mom always said that in human beings, sometimes relationships are like, she says that sometimes it's like two sharp rocks. When you were young and your personality is so new and kind of in its raw form, that sometimes when you go up against other people, that have other opposing ideas, it's almost like two rocks knocking against one another, and then you kind of knock off the pointed edges of each other, right? And you do it in equal measure. One person, telling you like it is, and then you turning around and telling them like it is back. You kind of polish each other down. It wears you down, but it also refines you. And I think the High Priestess, or the way you High Priestess, is you help people see that refinement. You say, okay, this is not a wasted fight, but you also have to pick your battles. And I think you help people do that. You help people pick their battles, and I think you help people retain the friendship after they have learned lessons. You help people air the dirty laundry, right? You help them get past their conflict, and you do that in a very wise and unassuming and humble way. So that's wonderful. I really like that. You had an awesome reading, Pile 1. So let's go ahead and we'll put your cards back there. And put your dice there. Pile number 2, you got the kind of blue quartz and the Linestrider Tarot by Siolo Thompson, if I'm saying her name right, his or her, I think it's a lady. All right, this is one of my favorite decks. You haven't seen this deck on this channel yet. All right, pile number 2. How does the High Priestess manifest in your life? How does the High Priestess manifest in your life? 3 cards, please. How does the Priestess manifest in your life? Ooh. Oh, sweet. Nice, thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, make sure we're in focus. Get all this lovely natural light today. Oh, wow. Ooh. All right, what that did just now, and I talked about this a few weeks ago, is sometimes when I shuffle, it does what I call a tap. It's like I'm shuffling, and then it goes boop. And when it goes boop, it is saying, this is your card. And what this does is that went boop and it also flipped over. You didn't get any naked bits, so no emojis for you. Let's go ahead and do your Wisdom of the Oracle. Pile number 2. How does the High Priestess manifest? For pile number 2. How does the High Priestess manifest? Ooh, all right, we'll go with that one. That one wanted to jump out. Didn't full jump, but it was on the diving board. Oh, wow. Oh, cool. Oh, wow. So, pile 2. Oh, and your dice. So sorry. Gotta get with the program. Oh, wow. Okay. So, what you got was pile number 2. The way that the High Priestess manifests for you is in a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a pull into your shell kind of way. What I'm seeing here is I'm definitely seeing the first 2 cards are the 8 of Cups and the 9 of Wands. And 8 goes into 9. And the 8 of Cups is an emotional withdrawal. In the traditional Rider-Waite Smith, it's the man walking away from the stacked up cups and going up into the mountaintops. In this deck, you see this man is packed for a journey, and at the bottom of his feet, you see what is a piece of paper. It almost looks like a message, right? And actually, in the distance, if you look closely, there is a crescent moon, almost like the crescent moon that is at the bottom of the High Priestess' feet. Now, one thing that's standing out to me too is if you look, this whole deck has a little bit of a Rorschach test kind of feel. You kind of see the images that you want to see in the watercolor swirls. But if you look behind your High Priestess, it almost has a lighter, it's almost the exact same shape, the way that the smoke behind them is kind of wafting into the air. And what I see here is that, and again, the High Priestess owns, she is the guardian of the veil. She is the guardian between the world that you manifest in and that unconscious higher knowing. Like, you know, she's almost like the karma of the universe. Like, okay, if I manifest this, if I do this, if I have this fight with someone, if I fall in love and marry this person, what does that do? What does that mean? What purpose am I serving in this person's life? Again, it's very Socrates. It's kind of like, you know, what is the meaning of this? What is the purpose of this? What is the meaning of life? And she questions that before she takes action. She says, okay, what is the purpose of this? And so here I think I'm kind of getting the feeling like this might be what's manifesting in your life right now. I don't think this is a permanent energy. I'm not getting that vibe. But what I'm kind of feeling is, I'm feeling like there was some kind of disappointment, or there was just something that you had put so much emotional energy into and that you just had to walk away. The 9 of Wands is the beat up card. You can see he's got 8 wands behind him and he's kind of standing at a defense. And it's funny, this is kind of there's a word for it when an animal is given human characteristics. I'm drawing is a very cunning character. And cunning in not a bad way. He does get kind of a reputation of being a trickster. But when you actually look at a character of a fox, like a real fox, they do, you know, foxes do mate for life, but the thing is they are very concerned about having their needs met first, and that's why they're cunning. They almost kind of hoard. They go through life and they scurry away with things that they need. And what this tells me, and the fact that the fox is the one that kind of looks like he's been through the war, it tells me that you have particular needs in your life, and you've kind of been through some kind of emotional ringer, either recently or that is what's bringing on the High Priestess energy. You've given and given and given to something that did not give back, and what you want to do is you need to walk away. You also kind of see that in the 2 of Pentacles. Typically, this is someone who is juggling either finances or something in the physical world. But I think what this is telling me is that you've kind of gone through your magician stage, and you've done and you said, okay, I want to manifest, I want to get what I need to, but somewhere in that process, it really kind of put you through a hard time. You had to juggle a lot. You had to take kind of some hits from it. And what it has done is it has put you into a zone where you are pulling into yourself. You are packing up your stuff and saying, what was the purpose of all of this? There's something that, I've worked so hard at this. I've put so much effort into it. It doesn't seem, I'm on the defense. I'm worn out. I don't have much more energy to give. And so what it's done is it's put you into this introspective place where it's just like I said before, in relationships, sometimes there are sharp edges that by kind of knocking into each other, you polish one another. And I think sometimes going through those lessons or either juggling finances, juggling responsibilities, just juggling things in the physical world. The other thing is we have cups, we have wands, we have pentacles. The only thing that we don't have is swords. And the funny thing is the High Priestess really isn't a swords character. She's much more metaphysical than that. She goes into the subconscious. And so what this is telling me is that what you're going through right now is you are becoming this elusive High Priestess because you've been through a lot and you are pulling within to see what that has taught you, what it all means, and how, what the purpose of it is. It is also telling me what else is out there. I think that's the other thing. What am I not seeing? I think she's going up into the mountaintops because she is wary and she wants to see the bigger picture. That's how it seems to be manifesting. The other thing is you got the little miner guy. He almost looks like a dwarf. This is the fantasy dice, but I think you're mining for knowledge. That's what that seems to be, because he goes into dark caves, he goes into the mines, and he mines for gems, for jewels, for things that give wealth, and I think what you're doing is whatever events have occurred recently, you are using those experiences to mine greater knowledge or to learn new things. I do think that a lot of this, you got the service card, which is I feel good when I serve others. And I do think what it is that this is definitely an energy of you give a lot. I think you give a lot to others, either financially or emotionally. I mean, I'm seeing emotions, I'm seeing action, and I'm seeing financially. So I just think you give a lot. I think you give a lot. And again, your service to others makes you the High Priestess. It makes you that spiritual person. I think also by helping people, it develops your spiritual understanding because you see the challenges they're going through. You're not really judging, but again, you're taking that non-action stance and you're almost living vicariously. I think you can learn a lot about the deeper meaning of life by going through the struggles with the people that you're helping. Now, what this is telling me, though, is that you got the serendipity card. That is number 18. And I think in Lenormand, the clover means a lucky windfall. It means a lucky windfall. And I think what's happening is, I think you really are going through an apex time. I think you've been through so much lately that you're going into non-action mode and you're really just kind of breathing and thinking about, you're thinking about things. And I do think there's going to be a reprieve. I do think that very soon you're going to have some kind of lucky windfall that is going to just kind of, I think it's going to be what breaks this open, which kind of just gives you the breath of relief that you've been waiting for. but I think the High Priestess does, I think she manifests when you assist people, but I think she does also caution you to not overexert yourself too much. You know, the High Priestess in reverse usually means things that you're ignoring. It means that you're plugging forward with stuff when really you should be stopping and kind of thinking about, you know, what does all this mean? So I do think that is the 9 in the juggling is a little bit of a word of caution. It's okay to take a break when you need to and just kind of step back and look at the situation. You will still get all of the knowledge that you need from it, but you definitely, let the universe tell you, or, let God or the universe tell you what's going on, But okay, so that was pile number 2. And pile number 3, we've got the Inked Intuition Tarot. So this I said before, this is the tattoo tarot deck. And again, I really do like the images in this. I don't think there's any naked bits, so I don't think we'll need to use our emoji. That's cool. Let's go ahead and see. Pile 3, how do you High Priestess? Are there 3 cards here? There are 2. Okay, let's go ahead and go for 3. There's kind of a few sticking out, but pile number 3, 3rd card. Okay, that was really falling, so we'll go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and get your oracle card. Make sure we stay in focus. Ooh, sorry, we were out of focus. Keeps doing that. Okay, we got 2 cards there. I'm going to go ahead and take them back. I'm going to take them both, not take them back. Where did that come from? Oh, okay. And let's go ahead and get your oracle. Okay, this really wants to come out. I'm going to go with that. It was almost touching both my fingers, and it was just like here, here. So we'll go with that. And let's get your dice. Get your dice, big money, big money. I love how I can put my whole hand in this. I made this bag, and it's just like, it just stays flat on the table and lets me juggle. Okay, big money, kidding. Just kidding. Ooh, okay. What it is the storytelling dice is by Rory's, and what it is all the blue ones are just regular, their actions. The purple and the pink, the purple is this is kind of it's called the Clues edition, and so what that is it's dice that talks almost like mystery, like Clue. So let's go ahead. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to take a minute to kind of take this in. There's a little bit of a relationship vibe going on. I'm not going to lie. This is coming through as a person, but we're really not going to lean that way, because this is just how the High Priestess manifests for you. Later on the weekend, I've said in the Weekly Energies video, just to get it out there, the weekend before Halloween, I'm going to be doing a special themed, a very special themed video for Halloween that is relationship related. So I hope you like it. That's coming out the weekend before Halloween. But pile 3, how do you High Priestess? You got the tarot card, you got the Tower, you got the 5 of Cups, and you got the Knight of Wands. Then for your oracle card, you got Imagine. Such a beautiful card. And then you got 2 of the Soul's Journey. You got Self-Esteem, and you got Failure. And then for your dice, and don't get scared. There's not any bad dice. Just like there are no bad cards in tarot, there's no bad dice either. And I actually got that dice a while ago, and it was very literal. It was almost kind of funny how literal it was. But here I am getting that the way that you High Priestess is, it's a little bit through your relationships, or there's relationships that are putting you into the High Priestess energy. The Tower is just like a few of the other cards. It's probably one of the more feared cards, and which is really kind of sad because I feel like it gets kind of a bad rap. The Tower is a lightning bolt that is striking a building, and it has the building in flames, and then you see two people falling. The top of the building looks like a crown that has been knocked off of the top of the building. And what the Tower means and what it comes across as is that is something being built on a bad foundation. It's something that was not steady. It was something that was not stable. It's something that wouldn't have lasted. And what it's saying is, when something continues down a path that is not going to, you know, when you think of a building, it's like, okay, would you want to live in a house that's lopsided, that the roof always leaks? It's just not going to work, right? You can patch the holes in the ceiling, you can, you know, put a lift under it. It just basically means that sometimes the best course of action is to just start afresh. It's to, and the Tower can sometimes be an epiphany. It can be a mental, and it can be a mental strike of lightning that really just gets you reset in the way that you're thinking. But the other side of the Tower that is very, very positive is, there's an old story that talks about how there was a warrior in China that broke his leg. And he thought it was the end of the world. How did I break my leg? Now I'm laid up, I can't do this, I can't go anywhere. And then later, after he broke his leg, a war broke out and they were recruiting for, you know, soldiers, but he couldn't go because his leg was broken. On YouTube, there's actually a great video called The Story of Nova. And it's kind of the same thing, and it actually has several points in it. It's basically that something that came across as a catastrophe, something that blew through and just seemed to wipe everything out, the tornado that just ripped up your house. It feels like, you know, they say with humans, 90% of all change is dreaded, even if it's positive change, because change is traumatic. We don't like it. Even if it does good things, even if it brings about the right things. And the Tower, what the Tower does is it gives you that clean slate. It says your floors were wonky. It says your roof was leaky. It wasn't serving you. That and the fact that you had that crown on top of it, you were trying to make it into a palace, but it wasn't on the right foundation. It wasn't on the right foundation. It wasn't working. And it kind of gives you, and a lightning storm gives you the right excuse. It lets you, you know, a lightning storm burning everything down, it's absolutely sad, it's traumatic, it's sudden. And I think what people hate the most about this card is that it's unexpected. Most of the time it's unexpected and sudden, which is terrifying. It is terrifying. But what you don't realize is that when something comes through and takes you down to your studs, and that can be psychologically, that can be emotionally, that can be physically, it gives you the opportunity to build it the way that it was supposed to be in the first place. And that's the blessing of the Tower. Now, the middle card is the Five of Cups. And again, this is a pip deck, and I explained a little while ago, pip decks do not give you, the Minor Arcana does not give you all the pretty illustration that the Rider-Waite Smith does. It doesn't, in the Rider-Waite Smith, you see the man who's down at the riverbank crying over the 3 cups, and then the 2 cups are standing up behind him. So, but this deck was chosen for this reading, so we're reading the pip as it is. Now, the all-seeing eye, or the eye, means that someone is looking or reviewing. And when you look at it, the eye is crying into the 3rd cup. And then there's 2 cups on either side. And that middle cup that it's crying in, is in between the other two. And then above it, or kind of behind the eye, are two other cups that it doesn't seem to be seeing. And what that tells me is the way that you, High Priestess, or the way that it's manifesting, is that something may have come in, and it could have been a relationship, it could have been something that actually happened to your house or happened to property, but something sudden but long time coming has come in, and it's rerouted you, and it's leveled, it's put you back to your cornerstones. It's giving you back to your foundation. And what it's happening is the cups are emotion, so it does kind of point to a relationship, but it's telling me that something was not built on a right foundation, and we're mourning that. You're mourning that. And behind the eye, behind the eye is two more cups. It's almost like a new beginning. It's a new emotional beginning that, you know, you can rebuild. You can rebuild. And now the third card is the Knight of Wands. Now the Knight of Wands, you can see he has a helmet on, and when you look at it, he has an eye in that helmet. And he's armored. He's armored. When you look at his hand, and again, this is a tattoo deck. The Knight of Wands has a tattoo and a tattoo deck. It's interesting. The middle of his wands almost looks kind of like a skull face, and then he has a heart above it, where his nose, or that might be his nose. And then he has a sailboat tattooed on his hand. Now, the Knight of Wands is a journeyer. Knights in general are kind of seen as being, they're not children, they're not pages, but knights are ordained by the court, the kings and the queens, to go on missions, to go on journeys, and they are the action takers. And sailboats in Lenormand means journey. It means going on a journey. It means being a part of a journey. And the fact that this person is a person, and to be completely honest, the Knight of Wands is the in and out guy. In Rider-Waite Smith, the horse that the knight rides, he has his back feet on the ground, and he has the front hooves rearing up. And what that means is, it tends to mean that he's in between lunging forward or standing still. And unfortunately, it does give this card the reputation of being somebody who comes into your life and out of your life, into your life, out of your life. He has one foot in, he has one foot out. I want this, no I don't. And you know, it being that knights are kind of the young adult, it does usually represent a young male, or the energies. This could be an older guy, but he might act like he's in his early 20s, and it just means that he's fiery. He has passions. He has goals, and there's a lot of facilitation between it. I'm definitely feeling like this house is on fire. This guy is on fire. I don't think he set fire to your house, but I do think that something about this passion has just kind of left you mourning what was, but then the High Priestess allows you to begin again. The High Priestess gets to say, okay, this happened. I do get a good vibe, and again, you know, so many people look at the Five of Cups and they think that's just a sad card. How could there be anything good about the Five of Cups? Well, what I think is good about the Five of Cups is you have to mourn when you lose something. And I think it's a psychological thing. You have psychiatrists, you have mental health care providers tell you this all the time. You can't just steamroll over the fact that you lost something. If you lose a person, if you lose a house, if you lose a parent, there is a psychological damage that's done with that. And what they talk about is, in a lot of mental healing, they talk about sitting in the schnit, I can't curse, sitting in the poop. And what you want to do is, you don't want to do it all day, but when you feel strong enough, if you've experienced some kind of loss, and it doesn't have to be a huge loss, and it does not even have to be a loss defined by society. Like if society would not, breaking up with a boyfriend, society might not think that as a huge loss, but if it affected you, if it hurts you, then that matters. And what you want to do is you really want to let it go. You want to cry the tears. You want to sit in the poop. But do it when you're strong enough, and don't do it all the time. Do it in small increments. Sit in the poop for 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, and then pull yourself out of the poop, wash it off, and then don't think about it. Do other things, but give yourself the time to mourn that. Your house is down to its studs. Take a moment to cry about that. That is okay. And also what it's kind of telling me is, the Imagine card also kind of points to that. I've talked a lot about creative visualization, but one helpful thing is when you're looking at the loss of something or what's left from the devastation, imagine what it could be in the future. Have you ever looked at a room and thought, wow, it looks a mess now, but if I put some curtains up, or if my desk would look great in that corner. If you did something like that, where you just kind of imagine where you can go from here, what you can do on that foundation that was so wonky before, that goes a long way to helping you heal. Now, the other side of this here, and again, this is how the High Priestess manifests in your life. We have self-esteem and we have failure. Self-esteem is, I possess gifts of the soul that benefit me and others. Failure is, I understand that a mistake is only an opportunity to learn. And what I'm seeing there is, maybe you got into things that you knew were maybe not right for you, or maybe you got into things or relationships that you knew were not stable. You knew it, right? And that's what the High Priestess rules too. She rules inner knowing. And when she's in the reverse, it means you're ignoring something. You're ignoring your intuition. So here, maybe you went for something that you knew wasn't right, or maybe you went into something with the best of intentions and it just did not pan out. But just like we said that the High Priestess is very magnetic, because she goes into her own depths and she understands the spiritual meaning of what's happening. She understands the higher purpose of something happening. She has you can derive a great self-esteem from that. And even if something felt like a failure, even if that tower came crumbling down and you think, God, why did I even bother living in that tower? Why did I even, and when you look at it, your dice too, it's blood. It's blood. You feel wounded. You feel wounded, right? You feel stabbed. But don't look at that as, I know it's hard to not look at it and think, gosh, I just failed. I think the way that the High Priestess manifests is that through that experience, you get a higher learning and you gain self-esteem. I think that's how the High Priestess manifests for you. You take all of your bumps and bruises and you turn it into a foundation. You turn it into a steady foundation that really, really serves you, both spiritually, both emotionally. And I think it also teaches you to go with your gut first before you endeavor to do something. And it's not saying don't do it. It definitely says you can do it. You can do anything that you want to do. But I think it's telling you that if you get a gut instinct that tells you, I'm not feeling comfortable with this, then don't go for it. And no one is going to think that you're a failure, and no one is going to look at you like you are not worthy. You have that bedrock of your, knowledge, your knowledge of yourself. And that was the other thing when I was telling people in the introduction, there is nothing sexier than the High Priestess. I'm telling you. I was joking. The moment that you are secure in your self-esteem, the moment that you say, I know how I feel, I understand this situation from almost a higher learning, a higher perspective, and when you gain this self-sufficiency that is just darn attractive, and all the guys line up, all the girls line up, and again, the High Priestess can manifest. You can be a man and exuding the High Priestess, but it is like, hey baby, you're attractive, you're self-reliant, you know what you want, you're ethical. I just think that really. I also think that sometimes that makes other people, that's the other thing that I'm getting from that, is you kind of see the red, you see the red here. I think sometimes it makes people feel like they're not worthy. Not in a bad way. I'm not laughing at that. I'm just saying, like, the people that you're dealing with feel like a knight, in your presence while you're sitting on a throne as this kind of vestal version of the unknown and the spiritual, wellspring of knowledge. So I do think that people see you that way, and I do think it's because of your life experiences. I think that you've either gone through a lot of loss and it's made you stronger, and I think people respect you and they're drawn to you because it's like, wow, how did she survive all that and still come out with this life is good. I see everything so clearly now, and so I definitely see the High Priestess in you for that. And that's such a beautiful energy, seriously. Have you ever seen like poets like Maya Angelou, and they've had such hard experiences in their life, and they just take that knowledge and they turn it into this foundation of beauty and wisdom. And I think that's how High Priestess manifests in your life. That's wonderful. Well, I thank you so much for joining me today. We did get kind of deep with it, but I really think that was a great reading. I hope you enjoyed. Now, what's coming up on the channel is this Saturday is going to be the weekly energies. What that is that's just us kind of taking the pulse of what's going on in your life and how that might manifest. Then the following week, we're going to get into some really exciting stuff. The following week, we're going to be doing, we're going to have 2 specialty readings. The Saturday before Halloween is going to be kind of it's going to be a little bit of a personal reading. And then on Halloween itself, I have a very special theme planned. So I hope you will join me. I will post it early. I definitely know that you're not going to stop your trick-or-treating to watch a video, but whenever you get a chance, if you want to stop by and watch it, it's going to be very entertaining. But if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know by posting in the comment. I would be honored if you would like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you have a good week, and I'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye.